mystery of this hour, our trials in this light appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again. Gather the spirit of heart and mind, seeds for the sowing are laid in store, nurtured in love and conscience refined, with body and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit growing in all, drawn by the moon and fed by the sun, winter to spring and summer to fall, the chorus of life resounding as one. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then, gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again.
Thank you, Rachel, Kevin, and Jasmin, for singing us into this space this morning. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church. I am the Reverend Katie Romano Griffin. My pronouns are she or Asia. I am one of the ministers serving this religious community with my colleagues, the Reverend Abhi, Janamanchi, the Reverend Archie Turner, and our intern minister, Dana Edwards. If you're new this morning, I hope that you'll let us know in the chat. If you feel comfortable, fill out the newcomer form that's located there as well, because we'd like to mail you a small gift. Whether you're joining us today for the first time or you've been with us for a lifetime, know that you are welcome here. Bienvenidos. Whoever you are, whomever you love, you are welcome here. Whether you're joining us, wherever you're joining us from, however you arrived at our worship in this time, in this moment, you are welcome here. Whatever your beliefs, gender identity and expression, immigration status, or political views, you are welcome here. Thank you for taking a chance and taking the time to worship with us today. If you've been attending for a while and you're interested in becoming a member of this religious community, like Macy Smith did this week from Portugal, please reach out to Nicole Kazi, our membership coordinator. And know that our pastoral visitors are an extension of the ministry team. They're available in the chat today to support you. And now for a few announcements.
Join us today at 3 p.m. as the three Potomac Partnership congregations, River Road, Cedar Lane, and Fairfax, join forces for one big launch of our annual giving campaigns, Meeting the Moment. The special concert that we are hosting at 3 p.m. will feature UU musicians Peter Mayer, Emma's Revolution, and Leah Morris. not to be missed, an exciting concert with some great music and fellowship to be had with all the members of the three congregations. The link for the concert is in the chat and in the e-news. On Wednesday, March 3rd at 7:30 p.m., we are deeply honored and excited to welcome acclaimed civil rights activist, filmmaker, author, and speaker Valerie Kaur as our 2021 Kiplinger Lecturer. Valerie is a seasoned civil rights activist and celebrated prophetic voice at the forefront of progressive change. She burst into American consciousness in the wake of the 2016 election when her Watch Night service address went viral with 30+ million views worldwide. The question she raised in her address, "Is this the darkness of the tomb or the darkness of the womb?" reframed the political moment and became a mantra for people fighting for change. Valerie's lecture is titled "The Ethic of Revolutionary Love," where she will be exploring how we may reclaim love as a force for justice and action in America today. Please register at the URL link that is included in the chat. And we hope you will join us for our all-church annual auction this spring from mid-April until early May. Donations are needed now up until March 15th. The auction team is looking for art, antiques, jewelry, vacation homes, lunches, dinners in your home or at restaurants. The bidding will begin April 16th, and when you register, you will receive a special Justice Mask. Please watch our e-news for auction registration and donation information.
As we enter this worship experience of reflection and remembrance, repair, restoration, reckoning, and renewal, let us be mindful of the hallowed ground where our beloved church is situated. Let us be mindful of the Piscataway, Nacotchtank, Anacostia people who've lived on these lands for 1,000 years and more. Let us remember those who were enslaved and worked this land without choice or reward. Let us remember all who've gone before, whose vision and labor helped create and sustain this religious community. In this spirit, we gather. In this spirit, we begin. Let us greet and welcome each other in the chat.
Despite distance and fear, we are connected. Despite loneliness and change, we are connected. Across different experiences and lives, we are connected. Even in the face of loss, we are connected. When we wish to laugh, we are connected. When we need to mourn, we are connected. Across a nation divided, we are connected. Even when we dance alone in a room, we are connected. In the heat of the sun, we are connected. In the glow of the stars, we are connected. Across time and space, walls and electronic screens, we are connected. We are connected. Good morning, My name is Fran Pflieger, and I'm the worship associate for this morning's service. My pronouns are she, her, and I am lighting my chalice in Riderwood Village, Silver Spring, Maryland. As I read the chalice lighting words for today, I invite you to share where you're lighting your chalice from in the chat. We light this chalice, symbol of our free religious community. May it be a sign of welcome to all who enter, an illuminating light for all who seek, and a reflection of the love that burns deep within each heart.
Hi, my name is Julie.
And my name is Erica. Our theme for this month is beloved community.
Let's see what's in our Wonder Box that reminds us of beloved community.
This mask reminds me of beloved community because it keeps my friends safe and allows me to play with them outside.
And this can of tomato soup reminds me of community because many in our community made meals for us when my father died in November, including delicious tomato soup.
Now Miss Day is going to tell us a story about beloved community.
The old story of stone soup has many variations. Consider this adapted version. Long, long ago, there was once a little farming community called Bethesda, which means house of grace and mercy. People of many races, cultures, beliefs, sexual orientation, gender identities, abilities, and backgrounds lived together in this community. They used to love each other's company, and they used to love helping each other out. Their children used to play together at the farmer's market. They used to fix each other's bicycles and wagons, and they would help each other sort the recycling, do composting, and work in community gardens. Now, back in those times, the community of Bethesda was lucky enough to have all different kinds of fruits and vegetables and crops growing year-round. But then one year, the community of Bethesda was hit by a terrible drought. The drought continued into the next year and the next year, and the people became more and more hungry and scared. They wanted to carefully guard everything they had, so they shut their doors, closed their windows, and spent all day long looking at their bank statements online. They did have internet then. They hoarded the little food they had and hid it even from their friends and neighbors. One day, a traveler passed through town. The wind was blowing so hard, and the dust from the drought made it so difficult to see that she had to park her wagon at Cedar Lane for the night. The traveler was also very hungry and tired after having traveled for very long. So she went and asked the different people she met about finding a place to eat and sleep for the night. "There's not a bite in town," they told her. "You better keep moving on, lady."
Oh, everything I need. In fact, I'd like to make some chalice soup to share with all of you.
So she went back to her wagon and pulled out a big cooking pot. She then filled it with water and built a fire under it. Then she reached slowly into her backpack, and while several villagers watched, she pulled out a ceramic chalice and dropped it into the water. By now, hearing about this magic chalice, most of the villagers in Bethesda were surrounding the traveler and her cooking pot. And as she sniffed the chalice soup and licked her lips, the villagers began to overcome their lack of trust.
Ah, I do like a tasty chalice soup. Of course, chalice soup with cabbage is better.
So a villager ran from his house into Cedar Lane holding a cabbage. I have this cabbage from my garden, he said, as he held it out for the traveler.
Fantastic.
So she proceeded to cut up the cabbage and added it to the pot.
You know, I once had chalice soup with cabbage and some beans, and it was delicious.
Now, with that, a young parent approached the traveler with a large can of beans. Here, she said, placing the beans into the pot. And so it went through potatoes and onions and carrots and mushrooms and peppers and butternut squash and turnips and tofu and lentils and cilantro and so on until all of the people from the neighborhood gathered around the pot. You see, most of them were vegetarian and vegan. That's why we were having vegetarian soup. Now, when the chalice soup was ready, there was enough delicious food for everyone. Some people brought out bread and juice and water, and the people sat down for a nice meal. They struck up conversations with each other and were soon chatting and laughing as they had in earlier times. What a miracle, said the people as they ate and drank their fill. To think that such delicious soup could be made from a single and simple chalice. Now, there was plenty of food to go around and then some. And then when the traveler left, she gave the people her chalice as a gift. The end.
My name is Jean Scheibel, and I'm a member of Cedar Lane. For me, this began when my granddaughter told me that their Arlington neighborhood was painting COVID rocks to put in their yards to share with neighbors. While I had not painted anything for over 40 years, I was intrigued. I had the time and some rocks, but no paints. Having never painted with acrylics, I was willing to give it a try. A Cedar Lane friend gifted me a starter set of acrylics, and that was how it began. My first rocks had simple images with hopeful messages on them. As I continue to experiment with colors and subject matter, my paintings have become much more complex and detailed. I have painted 6 memorial rocks for friends and family. My subjects include bugs, grandchildren, flowers and birds, Puritan sailing ships, Iowa sunsets, moonrise in Maine, a goat, and our sanctuary windows.
I'm Carolyn Avery, and I paint in acrylics. This is the first painting that I did after lockdown, and it was so important to me to paint something happy and optimistic, and that the sunflower reflects that. That
I have created collages of clippings from the hard copy Washington Post. They depict a tribute to Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, demonstrations against evictions taking place throughout the country, how COVID-19 has altered people's lives, especially children's, and assassinated investigative journalist Daphne Caruana Galizia.
My work has grown out of love for nature and environmental activism. I call the small circular panels, "What planet do you live on?" I've loved the feel and touch of materials and explore in these assemblages the symbiotic relationships between man-made objects, copper wire, prisms, paint, handmade paper, rusted metal, and animal, plant, earth constructions, wasp nest, crystals, coral, plant seeds, which share universal origins. To me, this miniature planet where landscapes embody questions, create hope, and unite opposites like soft hard, smooth rough.
Thank you, Cedar Lane members, for those beautiful pieces of art that you shared and helped us celebrate how we have been meeting the moment this year. Each time we gather for worship, we set aside time to expand the caring ministry of this congregation. Together, we recognize the cycle of life and death, the circle of love, compassion, and witness that is at the heart of our religious community. Within our Cedar Lane community, our hearts are with those whose primary practice, spiritual practice, is parenting. We hold in our circle of caring those who live with grief or chronic pain, with illnesses seen and unseen, with mental illness and addictions, and those who care for family members in ill health, and those who are experiencing job loss and financial insecurity. Within Cedar Lane, we also celebrate with Ken Maddox and Lori Richardson, who joyfully celebrated Ken's mother, Sue Maddox's 100th birthday with her on January 18th at Riderwood. We send healing wishes and support to Rommel Lira, Melanie Stickle, and their family, who are coping with a family health emergency while living temporarily in Arlington. Our caring also extends beyond Cedar Lane to others whose lives are lost and whose lives are impacted by violence and calamities in our country and in our world. Especially this week, we remember and hold the people of Myanmar in our hearts who are protesting against the military coup and the police crackdown that has killed 7 people and injured hundreds. And we hold in our hearts the more than 506,000 beloved people who have died from COVID-19 in our country, the millions who are infected, and those who continue to risk their health and well-being to keep us safe, healthy, and connected. Holding the joys and sorrows that were spoken and those that remain in our hearts, let us now come together in the spirit of meditation, reflection, and prayer. Would you pray with me? Nameless one of many names, great mystery at the heart of life, embracing life and death, existing beyond them both, beyond time and space. We bow before you. We come into your presence in this space made holy by your presence and the presence of all of us. Amid all the noise and clutter of our lives, we take a moment to be together in grateful silence, giving thanks for another day, another season, giving thanks for all those in our lives who have brought us warmth and love, giving thanks for a caring community where we can share of our joys and sorrows and receive companionship and support, to give thanks for the gift of life. We take this moment to remember, to grieve for deep losses, for the passing of beloved ones into the great mystery. We lift up and praise the lives of those gone before us, beloved family, friends, and neighbors near and far, to cherish their having lived and graced our lives with theirs. O Spirit of life, we remember that we are embraced and held together by a great love, all of us, those who have died and those who live still, the great love that holds us now and will not let us go. Keep us ever mindful, O Spirit, of the powerful possibilities of love as we journey through all the seasons of our lives. Guide us, ground us as we find our way. Call us to the work of love, the work of justice, the work of liberation, when all of us together will know we are a part of that community worthy of the name beloved community. In the name of all that is holy, life-affirming, life-sustaining, we say Shalom, Salam, Om Shanti, Amen. Blessed be. Among us who are mourning the loss of a loved one or marking the anniversary of a loss, to rise in body or in spirit and to post the name of the loved one in the chat.
Every Sunday during worship, we take up an offering. It's good to remind ourselves from time to time that the offering is symbolic as well as practical. We know that it's through financial giving that we build our budget and fund our mission and ministries and worship, religious education, pastoral care, social justice. We pay our staff and professional religious leaders, finance the comfort and beauty of our building and grounds, and so much more. We pass the plate during our worship service to make a community expression of gratitude for the blessing of abundance, to visibly bring that act of giving as essential to our spiritual well-being as anything else we do here on Sunday mornings. We're grateful for the incredible generosity of our members, friends, and fans throughout this time in support of our mission and our ministry, which is reaching farther and wider than ever. We are grateful for the support of the many community organizations that we partner with in service of this mission too. Know that there are many ways to give at Cedar Lane. You can give by the electronic means of our modern times, text, online giving, PayPal, QR code, or you can simply mail a check to the church. This week, our Share the Plate recipient is the UUSJ, and Tanner Ray is going to tell us a little bit about it.
Good morning. I'm Tanner Ray, Cedar Lane's representative to the UUSJ board. I'm so pleased to speak with you about the work that UUSJ does on our behalf. Unitarian Universalists for Social Justice, or UUSJ, works to disrupt the interlocking injustices of federal policy. We strive to make our government more responsive to all citizens and residents of this nation, propelling us toward beloved community through action. So how does UUSJ help you live your UU values and to advance those values? UUSJ selects issues strategically that are moving in Congress and makes it easy for you to express your views to Congress, including through letter writing campaigns. UUSJ arranges meetings with congressional staff so you can talk to Congress. UUSJ publishes action alerts where you can send messages to your congressional representatives. UUSJ maintains engagement on priority issues. Currently, the Immigration Action Team, the Environmental Action Team, the Democracy Action Team, and the Economic Justice Priority. UUSJ builds understanding by conducting workshops and webinars to educate you on emerging issues and how to effectively advocate. UUSJ organizes and also supports witnessing, especially at events of national import to UUs. These include the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA rallies, the Poor People's Campaigns, 40 Days of Action, End Gerrymandering, and the Climate Strike. Many Cedar Lane members have participated in all of these efforts, and you are seen as a critical partner in UUSJ's works. Cedar Lane is also a member of UUSJ, showing a strong level of support at the congregational level. I hope you will check out UUSJ's work at uusj.net and make a donation to our Share the Plate this week. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Yonder come day, day is a breaking. Yonder come day, oh my soul. Oh, yonder come day, day is a breaking. Sun is a rising in my soul. Oh, yonder come day, day is a breaking. Yonder come day, oh my soul. Oh, yonder come day, day is a breaking. Sun is a rising in my soul. Yonder come day.
Day is breaking
You might know us by now as both your ministers, your senior ministers of these congregations, but also as this team in the Potomac Partnership, forming not just around us as your ministers, but around the congregations as a whole, looking to find ways that each of our missions in the congregations can rise us all up to meet the moment that we find ourselves in together. And in this season of stewardship and giving, we wanted to just reflect a little bit about the ways that we are humbled and honored and delighted to be serving congregations that in fact are meeting that moment in a number of ways.
Since we all closed our campuses, last March, so we're almost at a year now, all of our congregations have worked really hard to nurture connections and sustain community. It's all been ways in which I have found people rising to meet the moment, discovering resilience in so many different ways, and practicing love and holding on to hope and discovering new possibilities despite all the challenges that we have encountered on this journey.
Yeah, that's the thing I wanted to actually capture, is that possibilities, the adaptability of our congregations in ways that we never would have imagined before. We adapted so quickly, all of us, to getting online, to providing services, to having opportunities for people to connect. And in our congregation, we started very quickly into our food drive campaign to help serve folks in our community with food insecurity. And it was so impressive. I'm so proud of our leadership who just said, what do we need to do? Let's do it. And then started working with all of our congregations. All of our leadership just started working together to figure out, we're going to have funding issues. How do we get the auction online? What do we do about connecting with each other? And it was a beautiful thing to watch.
And I also want to lift up the ways in which the dual crises of the pandemic and the rising awareness of the injustice in American policing and the racial injustice in this nation and in this world crashed over us collectively in a wave this spring, when the crises of that moment collided. We were forced to innovate and be bolder in not only the kind of statements, but the kind of work we are willing and able to do around racial justice and multicultural growth and witness in a way that centers the work of multicultural community. So we're meeting multiple moments, overlapping in ways that perhaps we never could have expected, but have been deeply honored by. And in the middle of it all, we're finding joy, right? We are. And that's why we wanted to kick off each of our stewardship campaigns in our congregations with just some sheer joy and delight. And we're really excited that we get to welcome you today at 3:00 to a concert with the most amazing musicians.
And we're just delighted that Emma's Revolution, Leah Morris, and Peter Mayer are going to be joining us at 3 p.m. for this musical concert to kick off our generosity campaigns across the three congregations.
Let's be honest, this doesn't happen without money. We can't do these things without money. Our staffs have been amazing this year. They have adapted their jobs. Most of the money in our congregations goes to staff. And how grateful can we be for staff this year? They've done an amazing job.
If things are tight for you, we understand. Give if you can, what you can. If things are going okay for you, give what you gave last year. And this year, holding constant is a blessing. And if your finances have not been impacted and you feel blessed, I hope you will help us cover the reduced gifts of those who are experiencing hardship. So consider making a substantial increase if you're able to, even 20% or 25%, because it is going to take a few families doing that to cover those who are unable to give this year.
And I think in part, we meet the moment by telling the truth every single day, by rising up and telling the truth
including the fact that the challenges ahead are challenges we can only face together, with each and every one of us bringing the best we have to the table. So it is my joy, and it is such fun to collaborate and co-conspire with the both of you and with these congregations. Let us have some joy today and be generous today.
See you at 3.
And we love you all.
We love you all. Take care.
Upward to
Thank you, members of the choir and Jasmin, for that powerful anthem that life calls us on, love calls us on, faith calls us on. So today, we kick off our annual giving campaign, the season of giving. And this year, we are doing this in collaboration with our sister congregations of River Road and Fairfax, with a common theme, meeting the moment. And as we approach the 1-year anniversary of when things shut down because of a global pandemic, I've been thinking about all the ways our lives have been changed. As a nation and as a religious community, we have experienced some incredible loss and grief this past year. The devastation caused by the pandemic that to date has taken more than 506,000 lives, loved ones, spouses, children, grandchildren, parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts, siblings, friends, co-workers, neighbors, people with real lives, real loves, and relationships that we have lost. The rise in white supremacist violence and ongoing incidents of police violence against Black and brown people that we have encountered, the impact of climate disasters that continue to ravage communities, this and the assaults on democracy have left us grieving and exhausted. And in our Cedar Lane community, we have lost loved ones to COVID and other causes. Some of us have had to deal with serious health issues and terminal illness. Some of us moved. Some of us lost our livelihoods. Some of us haven't had the basic needs for enough food to eat or a place to live in. Our children have lost a lot, not being able to be in physical contact, learning with their peers and teachers. Parents have had to become full-time teachers and caregivers while also trying to work from home. For some of us, the sense of isolation has been very hard to bear. A year ago, I had no idea just how much our lives were about to change. In fact, at this time last year, I had just returned from a wonderful trip to Japan and was just riding high, looking forward to the time that was going to follow, and then everything shut down. I couldn't have imagined all the disruption. I couldn't have imagined such a deep sense of loss that we have all experienced, of life, of connection, of being in actual community together. I couldn't have imagined all the things we'd be learning and growing about ourselves and about one another. I couldn't have imagined our ability to change and adapt and to meet the moment with resilience, to reimagine how we can be in community together and stay connected to each other even when we are physically apart. I really could not have imagined any of this. You know, I feel like we are like those villagers in the story who overcame their fear of scarcity and separation and learned how to make and share chalice soup together. And friends, we have made quite a bit of chalice soup this year in so many different ways. Let me give you a few examples. This last year, we learned and worked in new modes of being with new methods, new technology, and new dedication. And there was no congregational handbook about doing church during a pandemic, nor did Katie and I take any special classes in seminary at Meadville about how to minister during a pandemic. We all had to write. all the new ideas and the rules and regulations as we went, and sometimes we just made it up. But we remained grounded in our mission and in our ministry that kept us creative and connected through this time. We adapted. We adapted our worship services that have kept us connected and to share our good news in a virtual world. The whole globe is now our neighborhood. And every worship service takes a village, literally. Worship and music staff, worship associates and children and adult choirs, AV and visual arts teams, pastoral and membership volunteers, a creative, joyful, risk-taking, and hard-working crew that works Sunday after Sunday with and around the quirks of Zoom, music apps, OBS, video editing, and YouTube to offer a service every week, which is both nourishing and inspiring. Or at least that's what our strong attendance seems to indicate. You see, our worship attendance in the past year has more than doubled from when we were meeting in person, with now folks joining us from Virginia, California, Tennessee, North Carolina, Connecticut, and even other parts of the world, like Macy from Portugal, Mahesh from India, others from Spain and the UK. Some have become members now and want to continue attending and being a part of our community in one form or another, even after all of this ends. We have reached out to every member and friend in our community through our pastoral visitor and minister teams, not once, but multiple times, to check in, provide care, and help with groceries, meals, medicines, and transportation. We adapted and reimagined beloved traditions like our coffee hour, replacing it with a virtual coffee hour, and holiday craft days with virtual memorial services and Zoom weddings, drive-through water celebrations and animal blessings, physically distanced ice cream socials, and Halloween celebrations. We have continued to stay focused and committed to issues of social justice, raising more than $37,000 in the past year in Share the Plate collections to support community organizations and causes, making thousands of masks for healthcare workers and community members, donating thousands of pounds of food to local food banks, and volunteering at shelters to feed the hungry and the houseless, witnessing for Black lives and racial equity during last year's uprisings, and serving as poll workers and get out the vote volunteers during the election. And we formed the Potomac Partnership with our sibling congregations River Road and Fairfax to expand our connections, share resources and programs, and help us be more effective in being a religious community. And we are making an intentional commitment to live into the promise and possibility of being the beloved community, of being a multicultural, multi-generational religious community, a commitment that calls us to include more and more of our siblings each time we answer the gospel question, who is my neighbor? A commitment that honors and celebrates the diversities that already exist within our community and engages with greater diversity, equity, and inclusion with attention and intention to create a religious community that offers a pluralistic way of being to all who yearn for it. We have managed all this and more despite trying circumstances and very difficult financial challenges that preceded the pandemic. We all did this in large part due to the incredible generosity of spirit and substance of our members and friends. You know, we have received checks and notes from people saying in one way or another, we feel blessed in our lives. We have not been impacted financially by this pandemic. We are happy to be able to do this. Please consider this gift as a pledge for those who are unable to give at this time, or make this money a down payment for the future. Their gifts, your gifts, are enabling us to meet the moment and to envision the future of this congregation. So what is this congregation? This congregation that we call our spiritual home, Cedar Lane. And what is it that has remained, continued, and persevered through this time? It is important to remember that as we seek this moment to make a deeper commitment to this place, and as we begin the process and the journey of envisioning the future together. This congregation, Cedar Lane, is an act of faith, a miracle chalice, if you will. It is an ongoing commitment to the possibility that love can break out in our hearts and in our midst. Sorry, I couldn't resist that pandemic reference. It does break out. This is a place where we can be loved as we truly are. This is a place that loves people into being, a place that conspires to convince us that we are lovable, that we are already loved, and therefore that we can love. This is a place where the music and the message can open our hearts and help us get through the week. This is a place where we can touch those tender places in our spirit, where we can laugh and cry, where we can struggle and heal, so that the possibility of new life opens before us. This is a place where our struggles can be known and where support and help can be found in ordinary and extraordinary ways. This is a place where our woundedness can be healed, our lostness can be found, where joy in abundance can be known. This is a place that can remind us about our gifts, our strengths, and our power. This is a place where service can change and transform our lives, where teaching in the religious education program can call us to professional teaching or ministry, where serving as a pastoral visitor can make meaning, where singing in the choir can help us connect with the holy. This place provides opportunities to make a difference in lives, from the unhoused in Bethesda to those seeking sanctuary, to migrant workers impacted by COVID in India. Here, in this place that is more than a building or a zip code in a fancy neighborhood, we maximize the chance that love can break out, that love can work out in our lives and in our world. But it takes each of us and all of us, our gifts and our talents and our financial gifts as well, each of us and all of us, to make and keep this a place where love lives, where love works, where love calls us on, so that the miracle that is Cedar Lane can be here for each of us and all of us. The message of the stone soup or chalice soup story, and the message at the heart of this religious community, is that when we share our gifts and our talents, and when we truly see one another, we can cease living in scarcity and fear, and we can put our self-doubts on hold and live into a resilient hope and a revolutionary love that can see us through. So this is the time when we come together to make our financial commitment to this place, to its vision, mission, and ministry, and make it real. So whether you give or how much you give is a choice. It is a decision and a commitment. Now, many who can give money or time or both. Some support the congregation simply with their presence, which maybe is all they can give at this time, and which is enough, and which in itself makes this place a holy place. But how much should you give? If your financial situation is tight, give as you can, what you can. And please let us know if there are ways we can support you. If you're doing okay, give what you gave before. As I said, holding constant is a blessing. If your finances have not been impacted, in fact, if you have done well in the stock market or received those relief checks, consider increasing your giving by 25%, 20%, 10%. I'm asking you to reach this year so we can make up some lost ground, so we can imagine the future of our emerging church and help put it on a solid path. I encourage us to cherish this congregation. It is your spiritual home, as a place where we come together to welcome one another's tears and laughter, to think deeply about the things that matter most, and to be renewed again and again in our ability to hear love's calling, to hear, in Rebecca Parker's words, the deep music of love, and be people who move in harmony with that music, singers and dancers of love, composers of justice, artists of peace. Activist, author, and poet James Baldwin wrote, "It is rare indeed that people give. Most people guard and keep. They suppose that it is they themselves and what they identify with themselves that they are guarding and keeping. Whereas what they are actually guarding and keeping is their system of reality and what they assume themselves to be. One can give nothing whatever without giving oneself, that is to say, risking oneself. If one cannot risk oneself," he says, "then one is simply incapable of giving." So, dear friends, in this season of giving, let us risk giving of ourselves more deeply, more generously. Let us risk giving out of joy. Let us risk giving till it feels good. Let us risk giving as an act of faith, as an act of love, as we continue to meet the moment and continue the miracle that is Cedar Lane. May it be so. Amen. And the people say, Amen. I invite us now to rise in body or in spirit to join our hearts and our voices to sing the fire of commitment.
Please remember those are early
Our benediction is from the Reverend Dr. Rebecca Parker, who asks, you must answer the question, what will you do with your gifts? Choose to bless the world. The choice to bless the world is more than an act of will, a moving forward into the world with the intention to do good. It is an act of recognition, a confession of surprise, a grateful acknowledgement that in the midst of a broken world, unspeakable beauty, grace, and mystery abide. There is an embrace of kindness that encompasses all life, even yours. And while there is injustice, anesthetization, or evil, there moves a holy disturbance, a benevolent rage, a revolutionary love, protesting, urging, insisting that which is sacred will not be defiled. The choice to bless the world will draw you into community, the endeavor shared, the heritage passed on, the companionship of struggle, the importance of keeping faith, the life of ritual and praise, the comfort of human friendship, the company of earth, its chorus of life welcoming you. None of us alone can change the world. Together, there is another possibility waiting. So go in peace, my friends. Go making peace. Live gently, love mightily, bow to the mystery, and dwell in possibility. May it be so.
Thank you, Reverend Abhi Janamanchi, Reverend Katie Romano Griffin, Dana Edwards, and our worship associate Fran Pflieger. Thank you to our co-music coordinators Dr. Jasmin Lee and Jenny Lynn Moyer, Cedar Lane musicians Rachel Moore and Kevin Miller, Dr. Henry Sugrishi, Chris Morrow, the Cedar Lane Choir, the Potomac Partnership Choirs, River Road, Fairfax, and Cedar Lane, for the inspiring music that enriched and enlivened today's service. Thank you to our AV team, Michael McCrickett, Mike Morse, Barb Thompson, Todd Chinikoff, and to Rebecca Knocktrieb for the beautiful Ingathering slides. And our membership staff and pastoral volunteers who have been active in the live chat. Friends, fans, and members of Cedar Lane, please join us with your favorite beverage for a virtual coffee hour after the service. The URL for virtual coffee hour will be in the YouTube chat. Join us next Sunday at 11 a.m. for a special spirit experience, La Dulce Vida with the Reverend Katie Romano Griffin, Reverend Jorge Espinal, guest musician Francisco Ruiz, and Cedar Lane members.
When I was a boy each week, on Sunday we would go to church and pay attention to the priest. He would read the holy word and consecrate the holy bread, and everyone would kneel and bow